Welcome, beautiful souls. I'm so happy to have you here each week at 11:11 a.m. Pacific time. I've been reflecting that oftentimes I call this a show, and I'm realizing today that it's not actually a show because I'm not here to entertain you. It's a sacred space that I hold. It's a place where we learn together through questions, quandaries, deep reflection about what relationships mean to us, to love and to life, whether it's family, friends, romantic partners. Every relationship has a mirror for us to learn something more about ourselves. And ultimately, the sacred space is about a transmission. It's about a transmission of insights coming from my higher self, reading your screen and your higher self, and providing insights that help you remember who you really are. And while that sometimes sounds so cliche, it's so important, especially in today's world, that we really, truly are working on remembering. Because when we're remembering to source, we know that only love is real and that we are love, and that we're here to feel love, be love, share love, exude love. And so I think this is such a beautiful time together. I always appreciate when you're here with me and on live because I can feel your energy. I know that you're coming to this sacred space with an open heart, sometimes a broken heart, sometimes a healing heart, and sometimes a whole heart, and sometimes a blocked heart. And today I want to share something just a little personal up front, that I come to today's show with a bit of a broken heart. And I think there's so many valuable lessons when we have heartbreak. And if you fill out the state of the heart assessment, you'll find out where your heart is, if you're blocked, broken, healing, or whole. But I say that because you'll get the 5 steps to heal back to wholeness. And we never know when heartbreak is going to hit. And so I thought I would share a few sentiments of things that I've been reflecting on. They're not necessarily the 5 steps, but they're things that I feel are really near and dear to my heart right now as I navigate my own heartbreak, and I navigate the feelings that are coming forward. And I think the first thing I wanted to say is to feel it. When we often encounter heartbreaking situations or a very specific heartbreak, we want to close down. We don't want to cry. We don't want to show our weakness. We want to be strong. We want to say, I'll be okay. And yet, heartbreak is such a beautiful time to cry and to allow the emotion in your body to actually be experienced on a somatic level. Because it's the mind that's often trying to suppress the ideas about the heartbreak, the stories that circulate around heartbreak. And so feeling it is such an important aspect of really processing it. And once we're really allowing ourselves to feel it, I would say that it's so important to not run from it, because that's the other thing. A lot of times we want to go on a trip. We want to go date someone else. We want to call our exes, whatever it is. We want to go do something that distracts us or possibly numbs us. It doesn't mean that you can't go out and have fun with your friends and do whatever makes you let loose. It just means that we don't do that instead of the processing. So if you need to go on a trip to get away, then be sure that you're taking with you the deepness and the juiciness of the lessons that are coming forward to start to learn them. Otherwise, as you know, when you come back, all the lessons, all the deep feelings are still there, and you still have to process them. Again, if we numb them, we shove them down, then we only attract those wounds in our next relationship. So I think, that was the other thing that I've jotted a few things here just to make sure that I didn't forget some of the things that I wanted to share. And I think that, reflecting on the role that we play in the relationship. Again, whether it's romance or family or colleagues, what is our part? Because a lot of times it's easy to be the victim. Think about what they did or how they made us feel. And those are all valid things and valid things to consider and to explore. But your time is always better spent looking deeply at you. And so I'm also doing that deep reflection of me and what are the lessons for me so that I don't have to repeat them. And what's coming forward, what's really coming forward to overcome some of life's most disappointing situations. And when we do that, we build strength and we build our toolbox. We understand ourselves better. We know what we want to do more of, and we know what we want to do less of in future situations and relationships that can impact us in all aspects of our life. And the last one, that I wanted to say is turning that loneliness into love. And this one is a tough one. It's a tough one even for me, that, when you get into that after phase of the breakup or the death or whatever, the heartbreak, it's that space where we have to really sit with ourselves and be okay to be alone with ourselves. And that's that loneliness feeling. That's that, oh, should I go back, or can I do something different, or can I replace something that I lost? And I'm just going to encourage you to just really sit with that loneliness, not from a storyline perspective, not to deeply spiral into the loneliness, but to turn it into love and to turn it into self-love and to really be in that space, in that place of the aspects that you love about yourself and what you've contributed positively to the relationship and positively, to the future of yourself and others in relationship. Because every time we go through some, a dip down or even a trajectory up, we learn something. And, one of my favorite things to talk about is being in a blissfully neutral state, because sometimes we get so addicted to the highs and being in love and that when the lows hit, sometimes it can get really hard to come back out of it. And so I think the real trick in life is, and I don't like the word trick, but the real juicy nugget in life is to find that blissfully neutral state. That place where, the highs happen and the lows happen, but we find a way to just come into that equilibrium, that balance, that feeling of wholeness and that anchoring into our own heart space, just like, like I'm here and I'm shining my light. And maybe a beloved is no longer with me, or maybe something really tragic has happened, and honoring that. So we're acknowledging it. We're not necessarily wallowing in it, and we're shining our light brightly, even in the depths. And I have to say that I know from my own heartbreak experience and feeling it right now and feeling my heart broke open, we send out a vibe and energy to others that shows our vulnerability that's so beautiful. And so we also want to get rid of this idea that we can't allow others to see our heartbreak. We don't have to always have it all together. We don't always have to feel great about everything that's happening. So a few sentiments leading into today. I think there's some great questions that have been submitted. I can't wait to get into them. But I do just want to honor that heartbreak is one of our biggest lessons. It's the way we learn. It puts us on our knees. It stops us in our tracks and makes us pause. And it makes us love deeper and love ourselves more. And so I look forward to hearing from all of you where your heart is. Perhaps you can give us a little heart in the comments. Maybe you have a red hot heart. I don't know, maybe one that's on fire and on flames, or maybe your heart's broken too. And so if you're feeling like it, even if you're watching on replay, I'd love to know where your heart is. And you can always go to bethbell.me and take the State of the Heart assessment, find out more. And as I mentioned earlier, get the 5 steps to healing your heart back to wholeness. It's so important. Okay, let's jump into today's questions and see what comes through. My girlfriend and I have broken up and gotten back together a few times. Every time she thinks I'm abandoning her. Honestly, it feels like it's an excuse to be a victim because she doesn't focus on the role she played in our relationship issues. Do you think it's something from her childhood that causes this, or is it really something I'm doing? Yeah, I like that you're asking the question. And a lot of these programs get instilled in our childhood. It's just the basics 101 of spirituality and awakening and understanding that we show up here as an empty, let's say, MacBook Pro, and our parents, our community, our society start to install Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So all the programs start to get installed at this early age, and the innate thing that we have and want to have more of is love. And so at some point in time, if we feel abandoned by that love, which I feel is the case for your girlfriend, that there was a point in time where she felt abandoned by love, and that's her go-to. The word addiction comes, and I don't mean it in the traditional sense, but the addiction to the idea that, oh, you're abandoning me. Oh, I'm going to be abandoned again. And it's a subconscious, I think, a subconscious program for her that she's not even realizing, although I'm sure she's hearing herself say the words abandonment, but she's not realizing that it's a program that's playing in the background, that she's actually attracting people to do that specific thing for her so she can get beyond it. And that's the tweaky spot, because oftentimes we don't see our own wounds, we don't see our own patterns, but we feel them, and we feel them deeply, and we want to project them onto someone else. You're doing this. In the end, abandonment oftentimes is abandoning yourself, because you think that love is outside of you, and love is never outside of us. Yes, people reflect love to us. My dog, Miss Lily, reflects love to me every day. I can feel that. If she's not here someday on the planet, I will feel that sense of loss. I will feel that she is no longer with me, but I also know that that love that I share with her is within me. And I just had this incredible opportunity to share it with her as a character in my play, as one of the people, of course she's not a person, but as one of the characters that are here to help me. So I think the best thing you can do is, because I don't feel that that there's something that you're really doing per se, but if you're not acknowledging her feelings, you could be exacerbating her feelings of abandonment, because sometimes that can get hard where you're not wanting to play into this victim story. And so sometimes we have a tendency to take a step back. That can be healthy, but it's so important that if she's willing to speak about her feelings, that you're able to listen, that you're able to be there and hold a space, because that is probably, if this has happened, since you've said a couple of times now, I think it's your job to hold that space, that sacred space. Sometimes that means in the presence of the other person, and sometimes that means not in the presence of the other person. Only you know, and you'll know at the time if they're willing to be receptive to your sacredness that you're offering. Because if they're just going to come back and abuse you, and I just mean that maybe lightly, maybe not, with their words, and not acknowledge and not appreciate the light and the love that you're anchored in and that you're sharing with them, then it's not going to be a safe space for you to be physically in their presence. It's a space that you're going to have to hold energetically in between the two of you. So there's kind of a really tricky nuance there, but I really feel like for you that it is feeling into that nuance, feeling into that moment when it happens and saying, am I safe? Am I able to hold this safe space and container for this person? Or is it better for me to step away because of my own triggers or because of my own projections onto them? So it's really feeling into that nuance and really understanding, your ability to hold the space. So the abandonment, yes, most likely is coming from childhood. It can be from previous lives. It can be from other situations, but it's typically from childhood. I don't think it's yours to figure out. I know a lot of times, as we're on our awakening ascension journey, we want to help other people, and we should and we can, but it's not ours to fix. It's not ours to figure out, because we can have all the answers. We can have all the insights. We can see everything, the whole landscape. But until they're ready and willing to want to see their own, there's really nothing that you can do, because then you're almost just like speaking to the wind and it's just blowing away. So you have to really find that space where you can, yeah, take care of yourself and yet show up energetically in a safe space and a container that can help them heal, at least offer for them to help heal. And if they choose not to, then we have to remember that that is their choice. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. I always love to hear the comments. If you're on with me live, please give me a little insight there. And if you're not and you're watching, it may be applicable to you too. So I'm always happy to hear your thoughts. Okay, let's move on to the next question. A dear friend from college, which is over 10 years ago, and I are not speaking due to an argument, kind of a misalignment in beliefs. I want the friendship back. I'm just not sure we can be friends with such disparaging beliefs. What do you think? Is it worth the effort? I'm going to focus in on, just because when I read that last line of, is it worth the effort? If your vibration is in a place of feeling that this is effort, I think that's notable. And I think you should really get an anchor into, why does it feel like effort? Because I think in that effort may be a lesson for you. That is, why does it take effort? Why does it feel effortful, if that's a word, to want to work through this? Because I think therein lies the, yes, you can focus on the discord of the belief, but you're not going to get there from there. That example of the Wright brothers didn't contemplate how the airplane couldn't fly. It's like they contemplated how it could fly. So I think there's a moving away from this disparity in beliefs. It's a moving away from this idea that there is something that you don't agree on, which I understand is legit. But it's finding, what do we agree on? Because chances are, if you met this person in college, you met them at obviously a vulnerable age where you were willing to make friendships, where you were willing to divulge a lot about yourself. At least I look back at my college years and I think, wow, that was a time when, I really made some deep friendships because I was going through some deep stuff. I thought it was super deep then. I look now and I go, wow, if I only knew what kind of deep was coming my way. But it is a time when we're more open. It is a time when we share, and we share in experiences that are life shaping. And so I'm going to say, chances are you have more beliefs that you share and more things that you vibrationally resonate on together than not. Now, if I'm wrong, because I could be, if I'm wrong, I would say that it's because you may have grown, expanded, awakened to a different level than them. And I don't mean it in a comparison sense. I'm not saying go and compare yourself and say, oh, I'm more awakened than you are. No, that's not ever the point. It's that you might have an expanded view. You might have a view that is broader than where they're at. And so it may mean that you have to love them for exactly where they're at. And that can be a challenge. And that may be where you feel the effort coming in. So I would offer to you to get beyond the feelings of effort. And to do that, I think you have to really get into what is in this for me, and what are the beliefs that we do share. And from a very loving place, not a judgmental place, not a comparison place. Is this relationship one that offers a vibrational resonance that will help catapult me, my mission, my truth, what I'm here to do? Because now is the time. Now is the time for all of us to be in relationships that are supporting us, loving us. Yes, we get the triggers, and yes, those are beautiful too in their own weird and wild ways. But we need the support, we need the love, we need the understanding of our perspectives. And so sit with that, journal about that, feel into that. What is it that you really feel is right for you? And if you feel like this person is not right for you right now, I think that's totally fine. But I have a feeling that there is something there for you right now that you can dive into, and dive into quite deeply. So yeah, feel into it and see what comes. Thank you. I'm so happy to see you guys on live with me. I really appreciate all your comments and sentiments, and Just wanted to say hi, a thumbs up, 100%. Thanks for sharing so vulnerably. Yeah, I think that's really what's so important, isn't it? To be vulnerable, exactly where we are when we're there. And chances are there's someone else having a very similar experience. And just by being vulnerable, we can help release other people from their suffering as well, because we share perspectives and we share love and we share our hearts and not just get into the stories of the mind. Okay, let's go on to the next question here. My cat died a few months ago. I'm still sad and can't seem to shake the grief. How do I let go of this story and allow myself to be happy again? Grief is I'm not an expert in grief, but I'm going to tell you what comes through in the channel and the insights is that grief is an opportunity to unleash emotion within your body about a lot of things. That yes, having a dear fur baby pass is challenging and you're going to have a very specific emotion about that, but you leverage it as an opportunity to feel some of the depth of emotion that you haven't allowed yourself to feel. So when you get into that space where you're feeling like you just want to cry your eyes out, do it. Find a safe space. Maybe stay home from an event to just have those tears and to feel into it and feel in your body where the grief is. Because again, it's not just going to be about your cat. It's an opportunity to really feel deeply within yourself somatically, because as we know, we get so in our heads and our energy gets so focused on our thoughts and thinking and thinking and thinking, we don't allow our bodies to actually feel. And so that's where, just in general, heartbreaking situations help us come back to that feeling place, that place within our body, as painful as it might be. It might be in your heart. It might be in your third chakra. It might be in that gut. Like you're just feeling like, oh gosh, it's just really, really got me. And so I would, just sit deeply with the loss of your cat. And I would also say that welcome the waves of grief, as opposed to being like, oh, it's coming again. No, I don't want this. Of course, we don't want to feel these feelings, but the more we can feel them and we can move through them, the more our bodies can release. And so it's not about like stopping ourselves. Of course, if you're in a situation where it's just completely inappropriate and you really can't cry, then I understand. You might need to just kind of, just tuck it in for a moment, but go back home and think about that time that you had to tuck it in and let it out and feel it and call a friend and say, hey, here's what happened. Can I just cry with you? Because sometimes just having a witness to the tears is so helpful. I know many of us don't want to cry in front of other people. It's sort of something that we just got taught, like, don't cry about it. Don't cry over spilled milk. But the crying is so healthy. Another thing that comes is, when we're crying and the tears are coming down, to lick the tears, to really embody the salt that's coming out of your eyes, and to really feel one with that sadness in a way that you're, again, not wallowing in it, but you're sitting with it and you're welcoming the depth of emotion that you're allowing yourself to feel. And I guarantee that you'll start to feel like, wow, I'm feeling on a whole nother level about a lot of different emotions and about other people. And the more we can practice feeling, so I know it seems maybe a little strange to use the death of someone as a real leverage point, but when our fur babies pass, and you guys can all remind me of this when my Miss Lily leaves this earth plane, that we have to still just feel it. And their love is always with us. So they haven't actually left us. We haven't exactly lost them. Yes, we've lost a sense of a routine and physicality that we have when we can go and touch and pet them. But that love is always going to reside within us. It's always going to be deep in our heart. So I think that, this is a really good time for you to really clear out some grief about a lot of things in your life, a lot of things that you feel that you've lost over time. Not to add it on and make it be, like a black hole, not that, but stepping in, just stepping in and then stepping out. and going and doing something that brings that love forward, and not pretending that there's nothing wrong, not pretending that you're not sad, but also not dipping and staying in the dips. And so that takes a bit of an art to know, yeah, how to kind of flex in and flex out. And that's where dear friends come in, and phone calls, and call back into the show. I'd love to hear more from you and how you're feeling in the next couple of weeks. All right, let's keep moving along. If anyone on live has a question, I always love to hear them. Okay, let's see. I guess I got to put my glasses on. I'm trying to stretch, and I can't read very well. Okay. This is a long one. My 15-year-old had a group of friends that are nice, but also a bit rough on each other emotionally. They have decided to gang up on my son since he is the only one with a girlfriend, and are now teasing him with an inappropriate nickname, and recently are voting to kick him out of the friend group chat. My son is shattered, crying, though he said to me the other day that he doesn't even really like them. But the rub is, if you don't have a group, who are you? I'm supporting him to have them over to hang, but I also want to help empower him to reinvent himself and find a couple other guys to count on and possibly start over, because that's how it feels in high school. I don't want to meddle, but I do want to help inspire. Wow, what a great mom you are. I feel the pain of this, and especially in high school, grade school, fitting in is so important. And while he has someone super special in his life, now this has somehow come back, it feels, to haunt him, because now he's looking at getting kicked out. My initial response to this and what's coming through is to continue to encourage him to stay in this group. I think one of the things, even though he said that he feels that he doesn't really like them, and I believe that that's true, I think that a bigger part of that truth right now is that he doesn't like them because of what they're doing to him. I think he did like them, and I think he does have relationship with them. And one of the exercises that's coming through is to have your son sit, write down each name. And I know that sometimes this might be challenging, and maybe it's impossible for a teenager, but try. Ask them to write down, a few of the names of the guys that they used to like the most, and write down, what is it about these guys that they actually liked, and try to get him to focus in on these aspects about these guys that he really liked. And I would continue to encourage to have them come over, because, it's like the rumor game, like this energy builds if you're not part of it. And I think if you walk away from it, that while that might hold, it might release some of the tension and the feelings, but I don't think that's going to stop this from happening. And I think it's going to create potentially a pattern that then he has to endure for his entire life. And that's where these patterns of not fitting in come, right? In junior high and high school, when we start to feel like, oh, well, maybe I'm not in the in group, I'm not in the popular group, or I'm in the nerdy group, or whatever it is. So I would encourage him to continue to find the good in these guys that he liked before, and to continue to have the conversation, as hard as it is. I recognize I'm not that age. I'm talking about greater, more adult concepts, but I do think that he has the ability to say some words to defend himself, but in a very positive, fulfilling way. And I think that there's a big question coming forward about the girlfriend. Knowing how young he is, I'm not saying he gives up the girlfriend for the friend group, but there may be something here. There may be something really important coming as a result of this, that maybe there's some truth to some of the things that the guys are saying. Now, you'd have to really lightly, gently touch on this to find out. Maybe, gosh, there's a phrase. I don't want to say it, but it's they used to say, like, oh, you're pussy whipped, and I'm not saying they're saying that to him, but there may be something to this, that he's losing himself with this girl. And they're like, yeah, dude, like, we don't want that. So it could be that they're just simply jealous. It could be that a lot of things, I mean, we know for sure that it's just immaturity. We know that because of their age. But there's a lesson in here, and I would encourage him to really get into like, what is it that they're saying about him? Not because he should think, oh yeah, that's the truth, but is there a thread? Is there a thread of truth in what they're saying? Not to be hard on himself, but simply to say, maybe I am spending too much time with her. Maybe I have prioritized her over my friends, and maybe some of their feelings are legitimate. Maybe there's something, a really good lesson here for him to understand the balance of romantic relationships with a girl and the friends. Because we've all probably been in those situations at some point in our life where we have a boyfriend or a girlfriend and we're just consumed by that, and we don't spend as much time with some of our other friends. It's natural, it's normal, it happens. But there is a balance that we need, because we want and need our friends to help us through the tough times. So I think that for him to just go find a whole new friend group is not going to help him overcome the lesson that's right now here for him to learn. And I'm not saying that he can't find other friends. I think he probably should, in addition to, but don't turn away from whatever lesson these meanies are here to teach him, because they are teaching him something. I do believe that there's a few threads in there that have truth enough for reflection, not for not for what's the word? Not to be hard on yourself, not for him to be hard on himself, but for him to just learn more about himself and to learn what it does mean to have romance and friends at the same time. And how do we juggle and manage that? And knowing you, I know you'll be able to guide him on a huge aspect of that. Okay, I think what an inspiration you are. Thank you. And I don't think about empower him to be proud of his life and his decisions, i.e. be proud he has a girlfriend and realize that maybe these kids are teasing him because they're jealous. Yeah, exactly. I think that's part of it too. And so it is just coming back to that balance and knowing what's yours and what's theirs. And that can be hard as a kid, because you're still just trying to figure out who you are. Well, we all are, right? We're all still trying to figure out who we are all the way to the end of this life, and even beyond this life into the next. We're still lining back up to source and our soul and understanding more about who we really are. So thank you for those comments. Yeah. What if he was so strong in himself that he said, you guys are just jealous? I think that's, thank you for that comment, but I think that that is a projection back. And I think that that will only taunt them to want to say things back to him. I think there's an approach that's definitely a high road, that is not blaming or throwing something back, but really understanding what the lessons are for him and anchoring back into that. So I would go back to some of the things that I had just mentioned, but I appreciate that comment and I get it. But I think throwing nuggets back is going to make it a lot harder, because then and we're dealing with also, I think, a level of immaturity that is going to come with teenagers. So, all right, let's go on to the next question. We've got some juicy ones here. Okay, my partner and I have been broken up for a few weeks and I'm missing him terribly, or them terribly. I know we're not supposed to be together, but how to overcome that deep sense of loneliness that lingers and creates such sadness. I assume that it was a he, but yeah, I think, and that's such a good question to ask, because it goes back, I think, to what I was even saying in the very beginning about turning that loneliness into love, that it's okay and it's natural and it's normal to have these feelings of loneliness, of separation. When we're intimate with someone, especially if we've been with them for, months or years, we develop sometimes an unhealthy codependency and sometimes a healthy interdependency. And so both of those, there's probably a reflection point there that you could go to about whether it's a healthy connection that you have, or one that was more dependent. on them. And that will get you back, I think, into that space within you that gets into the loneliness of wanting to be in that pure love of yourself and being connected to source. I know that whenever we have this opportunity in heartbreak, that it's an opportunity to let the light come in. And we can only really do that if we don't close our heart. When we close our heart and we try to protect ourselves and we put our armor on, and I'm not going to love again. And I'm not saying this is your situation, but if you feel that closing and you feel that blame and that shame and that whatever those emotions are, then you're not going to allow that breaking open of the heart to exude like bigger, enormous amounts of light out into the world. There's a time and a place. Yes, you're still processing. Be gentle, be soft, stay in your heart center, feel it. But also, don't let the light dim. Don't let the light dim. And I'm not encouraging you to jump into another relationship. I think it's the opposite in many ways, that it's still just like really holding your own heart like a fragile egg, and really feeling into those precious moments of what it feels like to feel. And sometimes we forget that, but heartbreak gets us back into our bodies to feel the depths of emotion that sometimes we have warded off for years because we just didn't want to feel that again. So a great opportunity for you. And I think it's lining back up to source and simply asking, show me what it is that I am supposed to see or do or be, or whatever it is in that moment that helps you continue to move through the loneliness in a really positive way. We don't have to shove it down. We don't have to numb it out. We just have to allow ourselves to feel it and ask for the show me how to move beyond this into what is really here for my bigger growth, my ascension journey, and for the next relationship to come. What is it? So please show me. Okay, let's see here. We've got another couple of questions, and I thank you so much for the participation. I love having you guys online. I would love to if you had any questions to ask. Okay, let's jump into this one. Okay, this is a good one. I read your book and really loved that you shared so vulnerably your herpes story. It made a huge difference in my life. However, I'm still twirling on getting over the shame when telling new partners. How can I overcome this? Yeah, that's interesting, because I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday, a new friend, and was sharing, about the title of my book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. I'm sure you've seen it. And seeing the word herpes on there, they said, do you have herpes? Most people actually say to me, well, why did you put that on the cover? There's a lot of dances around all of this, anticipation of understanding, like why is it there, and do you have it or not? And I just went into this whole, I thanked them for it, and shared that, I never thought I'd be a herpes spokesperson. I never thought I'd be a psychedelic spokesperson. But that the amount of virus shame that's out there, and we learned this through COVID, is just exponential, that people want to shame other people. I mean, there's the story in the Bible about leprosy. I mean, there's so many different examples of how people want to shame others and make them look bad, not fit in, have something wrong with them. And so it's such an incredible opportunity for you to take your power back and to know that you're not damaged goods, that you have a virus. Lots of people carry viruses, and there's a lot of people that carry the herpes virus that don't even know it. So it's more prevalent than probably ever before, and much higher than anyone can imagine. So it's an opportunity to anchor yourself in to your self-worth, your value, and your discernment, because not everyone needs to know. I happen to write it in a book, so everybody knows. But it's an act of bravery to just embrace that you have something that may be socially viewed as not good, not nice, don't want to be with you, and to be able to break through that and to transcend all of those ideas and emotions that other people want to put onto you is where your true power begins. So, as strange as it may sound, I would look at having the herpes virus as a blessing and as a gift, not a curse, and that you too may be here as someone to awaken others and to move through this, so that the more we can diffuse the energy around this idea and this concept, the more other people can feel like, oh yeah, okay, that's not a big deal. Like there's no secrets, right? The secret only holds energy and strength when we keep things a secret. When we disclose and we open up and we bring it out, then it doesn't have any energy. But it also, I understand, has to come at a time when you are ready, when you're ready to not have that as part of a negative identity about yourself, that it's something that you just go, yeah, and because in fact, this gentleman that I was meeting with yesterday that was asking me about herpes, he said, yeah, he goes, there was a situation where I was dating someone who had herpes, and so it made me go and do a lot of research because I wanted to see like what is the risk and the transmission. And so there was a study, and I can't quote it, but this was something that they had mentioned, that they had a group of individuals. One partner had herpes, the other one didn't, and they had two groups. One group wore condoms, and the other group didn't wear condoms. And so they looked to see what was the percentage of transmission. I don't know, over the amount of time. And the group that was wearing condoms was 3%. Does anyone here want to guess what the percentage was of the group that were not wearing condoms? We're not having the protected sex. Anyone want to guess here? Anybody online? No, you're all too shy on that one. It was 3%. It was 3%. So, there's lots of things that can be done, can happen in conversation to reduce the transmission. The more we talk about it, the less likely we are to run into these devastating conversations that feel like they're such a blow, when we can just disclose and look at what else in your life. What else in your life are you not willing to disclose? And again, I'm not suggesting you do anything or disclose anything until you're ready. But why are you not ready? Like, what is it? Like digging deep within yourself. Like, what really is there that that I'm being asked to look at? What am I being asked to blow up? What idea? What other virus of the mind is spirit, my higher self, asking me to be present to and to really release and let go of? When we do, the charge and the emotion and the shame and all of the things that we hold so tightly can just dissipate and fall away. Who doesn't want that? Who does not want that? Okay. Each week, I so appreciate you guys when you're here with me live. I love having your energy. I love answering the questions and bringing through the insights. I can't wait to see you again, hopefully next week at 11 a.m. Pacific time. There's also the Awakening and Healing Handbook on bethbell.me. Lots of tips, tools, techniques, modalities. I do talk about a lot of them in the book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. But in the Awakening and Healing Handbook, I go into more detail and more depth of what some of these modalities are. And there's also the Herpes Handbook. So I think you might find that even if you're someone who doesn't have herpes, there is so many juicy nuggets in there about how to handle interactions, even if you're the one that's dating someone who does have herpes. So there's a lot of good stuff in there for you to learn, and how you can help support, I think, reducing mind viruses as a whole. And then, of course, there is the Psychedelic Resource Guide, which is all about spiritual medicines and safe set and setting. And so if you're interested or called in any way to potentially explore that, I'm not here to advocate for that. It's completely up to you. You have to really dig into whether or not the time is right for you and where is right for you, and look into all of the ramifications of these medicines. So, all right, I'm wishing you so much bliss and love until we meet again next week. Namaste.